Welcome back to the art channel, boys and girls. We're going to start a new project today, but before we do, let's begin with our brain break. So everyone finding that nice comfortable seat, maybe rocking the body from side to side and sitting up nice and tall, taking that left hand, placing it on the heart, and taking the right hand, placing it on your belly, keeping eyes open or closed. Begin to breathe in through the nose. Feel your belly expand, feel your rib cage expand, feel your chest expand. Open mouth exhale. Let the chest fall, let the ribs fall, squeeze that belly to spine. Inhaling, sweeping arms up overhead. Exhaling, bringing those hands to the heart. Now on the next inhale, bringing the arms back down towards the body. They can go to the tops of the legs or on by the sides, and taking a nice exhale, bringing the chin to chest. So now just breathing into the back side of the neck. 2 breaths. Now option to stay as you are. Maybe you start to move the chin, making little smiley faces on the chest, going from right to left and left to right. Taking 2 breaths here. Slowly coming back to the center, and on the inhale, lifting the head, sweeping arms up. Reach, reach, reach. Exhale, bring those hands back to the heart. Now inhale, bring your arms back to cactus. Sway the cactus from side to side. And exhale, release everything down. Very, very good. I hope that everyone feels nice and relaxed. Since we've been working a lot on the computer, it's good to bring in some neck work and breathe into those areas if you start to ever feel tense, so we can now be nice and loose for our art project. So we worked on emphasis last week, and this week we are going to be creating a beautiful space, and we're going to be creating an alligator. So just like our cupcake, the alligator has emphasis as well, but what art word we're going to be really focusing on is space. And remember, space is one of the 7 elements of art. So in art, we have space, line, shape, color, texture, form, and value. So when we're talking about space, we are talking about the areas between, around a 2-dimensional object or this 2-dimensional piece of paper. So when we're creating an illusion of space, we've taken a flat surface like this paper, and we've made it seem like we're actually looking into a wide, vast area where we see alligators, and behind it we see a marsh, and even behind that we see the sky. So that is how we create the illusion of space, using the background, which is the sky, the top part of the paper, the middle ground. Here the middle ground is kind of a little bit more of the marshlands, and then the foreground, you can see the foreground is the biggest part. That's where the alligator is, in the very front part of the piece. So another thing that's very important when we're talking about space is size. Since the alligator is in the foreground, in the front of the page, he is the closest thing to us, so he's also the biggest thing in our paper. That's how we trick people to believe that we actually are creating an illusion of space. Now, when we look at our cute little dragonflies over here, clearly the gator is always going to be bigger than the dragonfly, but also since they're teeny tiny, we know they're more far back in the space and even farther away than the marsh, wetlands, and the greenery and vegetation. So just thinking about that when we are working on our piece. Now remember, boys and girls, I used watercolors here and I did our little salt trick. Remember, if you don't have that, that is totally fine. Use whatever you have. You can absolutely just use a pencil and paper here, and when it gets to the coloring part, you can just shade in using your value. So if you don't have watercolors or you don't have paints at your house, that's totally fine too. You can just use marker. So now I want you to go ahead and gather the supplies that you have, and we will get started on drawing our gator. Alrighty, boys and girls, so we're gonna go ahead and begin. And since we are trying to create an illusion of space here, we are going to be making our alligator first, which is in the foreground. So because the alligator is showing emphasis like the cupcake was, we want to go ahead and create that first, and then we'll work on the middle ground and background. So remember, your background is at the top of the page, your middle ground is in the middle, and the foreground is in the front or the bottom of the page. Now remember, I'm going to start using Sharpie like I do in the classroom first so that everyone can see what I'm drawing. But you may start with a pencil first and maybe draw light until you get it right using that eraser. And so we'll go ahead and begin. So I'm getting ready to begin. You can see my paper is horizontal, so going from side to side. And the first thing I'm actually going to draw is the eye of the alligator. So I'm going to come to the top middle here, and I'm just going to make a nice, relatively large circle. All right, so there's our first step. And then for the pupil, the black part in the eye that brings in the light, I'm going to add that. And I'm going to make another little semicircle in here. So if you're working with your marker like me already, you can color this part in, or if you're working with your pencil, you can just wait until you get to the outlining part of your piece. So now voila, look, we've got that awesome eye. And now we're gonna start making the back of our alligator. So the back of the alligator, what kind of lines do you see when you see an alligator? I see zigzag lines. So this next part is pretty simple. At the top left of that eye, you're gonna start creating a zigzag line going all the way to the edge of your paper. Ooh. It's already starting to come along. And once we've done that, we're going to now start adding his snout. So I'm going to now make a straight, or it can be a little wavy, curved line that goes almost to the edge of the right side of the paper. And you can see I'm gonna start to curve it inward like so. So once I curve it inward, I'm gonna have it go all the way back past the eye. So now it kind of almost looks even like the bill of a hat. And since the alligator has lots of crazy teeth, we're going to make the teeth now. And it's just like making zigzags, or just think about making triangles over and over again. So maybe sometimes the triangle is bigger, sometimes it's smaller. You can create a pattern going big, small, big, small. Remember, this is your gator, up to you. Having fun with it. And maybe when it gets closer to the top, the teeth get a little smaller. Ooh, my guy looks a little spooky. Gators are fun, but they are a little scary too. So now let's make a rainbow line for that nose right there. We gotta make sure he can breathe all right. And now we're gonna close out his mouth by making a nice, big, almost smiley face line that goes past the teeth, like so. And now we're going to close out our shape with just making a nice curved line, and this is for the neck of our gator. And there we go. Now we've got our awesome little gator right here. And so before we add any color to our piece, we want to add some stuff in the background. You can do what I did, maybe adding those dragonflies, or if you want to do other type of insects, I'm totally okay with that. Remember, this is your creation. This is when you can show me you are thinking outside of the box, doing something different than Miss Pumphrey. But if you want to do a dragonfly, just follow along, knowing you can always pause to if I'm going too fast. So since we're working with space, we see that the alligator is really, really big, and to create that illusion of space, we want to show that the dragonflies are farther away in the background, so they're going to be smaller. And they also are a lot smaller than our dragonfly. So you can make it teeny tiny, and I'm going to even bring my wing off the page here. So you can see I'm making almost little long ovals. So 2 on each side here. Maybe add some eyes, little antennas. Okay. So for your dragonfly, they can go in opposite directions. So just making that nice long oval shape. This one's a little farther away, so I'm making it even smaller. Little loop-de-loops. And watch, I can do it on the other side as well. And there we go. So before I add anything else, I want in my background that really nice swampy marsh look with the trees and the plants, but I'm gonna save that for painting. So if you wanna save that, if you have paints at your home or if you have colors, you can save that too. And now is the time that we're gonna start to add our color in. So if you need to get that set up, go ahead and pause the video so we can begin. All right, so let's get ready to start our color. So since I am working with watercolors, you can do the same thing. Remembering that you're gonna need a nice paper towel to dry your brush and wash it when it's ready. You'll need your water cup, your paintbrush, your paint palette, whatever that looks like, and this is an extra bonus edition. If you are working with the watercolors only, so if you're using markers, you can't do this trick, or crayons, but if you have the watercolors, we will be doing the salt trick like I talked about. And I'll show you, we're just gonna be doing that in our gator, and we're actually going to be painting in the background first. So this step will come a little later. So, and please only use the salt if your parents give you permission. Remember, this is just an additional step. All right, so now we're going to paint the background first. We drew the foreground first, and now we're starting to add color in the background first. And I'm gonna do those warm colors. You can really choose whatever colors you wanna do. I would just have them be a little contrasted with your gator, so you don't have to make your gator true greens and brownish colors. But if you're choosing that direction, I would do a contrasting color, so opposite, some type of warm or cool color. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna first wet my brush and then just start mixing my paint. And I'm just gonna start painting around my gator, around my dragonflies. So since I'm doing kind of colorful chunks this time, I'm going to only outline sometimes, so you can see what I mean by that. Maybe I'll add a little bit of color right here. And once I get to around my dragonfly, I'm going really slow, taking my time. And I'm actually gonna add a little bit of this red color in here. And remember, the more water, oops, it's okay if you get a little color into your gator like me. That's what the paper towel's for, just dry it right off. And so watch, I can add a little bit of red down below here. And since I'm adding layers to my piece, I'm going to just lightly add the colors behind the gator in the foreground. Because remember, I'm gonna put some vegetation here since he's in the marsh. I'm gonna show that. And kind of just going slow, but also keeping the brush strokes nice and quick to kind of emphasize that beautiful sunset sky going on. I just can't get over how silly his teeth are. He is a little scary, but he is also kind of goofy too. I don't know if you've ever been to the alligator farm or not, but they're pretty cute at the alligator farm. They can kind of look goofy to me sometimes. Okay, so I'm just about done here with the background. So finishing that up. Very, very nice. So now I'm just gonna wash my brush. And I'm gonna let this piece dry before I go back into adding my middle ground, which is that vegetation and grass. But what I can do is I'm going to just color in my dragonflies. So I'm making just the body here green. So I'm dipping into my green. And I'm just gonna be very gentle and careful here. Oops, my green's not really coming out as I want it to. Hold on, just adding a little more. Okay, let's see here, trying it now. Being very careful and strategic. And there we are. So now we're adding our color to our awesome, cute gator. So I'm gonna try a wet on wet trick. So if you are using the watercolor, you can do this. So I'm making some areas of my gator wet first. Then I'm gonna start adding in that pretty green. And maybe I'll add a little bit of purple. See how I'm adding purple, making it darker in the edges here. Being really very delicate around the eye so that I don't get any in the eye. But remember, you can use that paintbrush if you do, or not the paintbrush, but the paper towel. That'll help you. And I'm just gonna kind of fade it out into the bottom here. So now that I have this section nice and wet, I'm gonna do a little pinch and I'm gonna add salt just to this area. Okay, remember, you have to add salt when it's still, so look, pinch, sprinkle, when it's still wet. So now I can't touch this area anymore, and that's totally fine with me. And I'm gonna get a little bit of blue now. And start adding some blue. First, I'm gonna wet this space. Little blue, little green. Ooh, that's a really pretty blue. I do really like the green though, so I'm gonna go back and kind of add some greens here. Wet my brush a little more. Being careful around those teeth. I'm gonna leave this little opening space because I'm gonna make a little lighter green. So I'm mixing that yellow and green together. See how I'm getting that lighter green. I like that color a lot. Since I'm done with the snout, I'm gonna take my salt, do a little couple pinches here, pinch, 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 and then I'm done with that section. So now I'm just moving right along, being careful around the teeth. It's okay if you get a little in the teeth. Don't be upset or discouraged. Remember, it's all about the process of making art. And if we make mistakes, it's no big deal. So now I've made that lighter color. I'm just gonna do a little touch of this green. And I really like that limeish green that I had. Ooh, maybe a little bit of orange. I kind of like how that looks. Being real careful here. Going slow. Kind of just finishing up that last little bit here. And a little more salt. And lastly, I'm going to add some color here. So I'm gonna leave this pretty light. What I'm actually gonna do is I'm going to leave that wash and I'm just gonna do the tiniest amount of this yellowish orange color, since that's kind of where the belly starts. And I'm going to leave it as is. So now it looks like my background is pretty dry. If yours isn't, you can wait a little while. But now I can start just solely adding in my marsh vegetation. So that pretty grass in the marshland. So you can do little lines like so, and they can go up and out. Remember, you can do this with the markers. This does not have to be done with paint. I know everyone doesn't have paint at their house, so it's not a big deal. Just use what you can. And so you can really add whatever else you want now. You can do this exactly how I am doing it, or maybe you do something totally different. It's truly up to you. But see how I'm going behind my gator and not on top? Look, I can even add some cool little ones, little lines going this way. And this is really helping me create that illusion of space. So now maybe around here, I'm just gonna add some more to really show that he's back in those swamp areas. So you can see when I'm making these lines, I'm just kind of painting over and over again. Straight lines up, they can be a little curved. Maybe I'll do some darker ones and fill in the spots here. And then I am all set to be done. So now if you're working with the salt, you can see it's already starting to make those changes for me, and you want to leave it overnight. So I'm going to leave this overnight. I'm then going to wash off all the salt into the trash can. So I'll just wipe it in the trash can. We've done this before in the classroom, so you should be good to go. And then you'll be complete with your work. Now, if you want to add anything else, like you could do crayons on top. If you wanted to make some areas lighter, you could, but spend this time really creating this illusion of space. So we have our gator in the foreground, in the middle ground is where our greenery, our grass starts to come in, and then our sky and our dragonflies in the background, creating this unique, awesome illusion of space. Can't wait to see yours. Have fun.